Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Faster Way podcast. I am thrilled to be here today with Dr. Pete Sulack. Dr. Pete, thank you so much for being with us.
It's an honor to be with you. It really is.
So, Dr. Pete, we got to know each other a little bit at an event just a few short weeks ago. I was so inspired by your mission, by your passion, and I was thrilled to feature you. You also have a new company launching that we're going to talk about, and we are going to talk about supplements. I know so many of our listeners and Faster Way clients love to hear what supplements I'm taking and what supplements I recommend. But before we dive into that, tell me when and why you entered the wellness industry.
You know, it's interesting. So I went to a chiropractor growing up. He was a family friend, went to church with us, and I got in an injury when I was younger, and chiropractic just became the way of life. And then one day he said, "Hey, if you go be a chiropractor, I'll pay your overhead, come practice with us." And I go, "Shoot, okay." I got into chiropractic, probably all for the wrong reasons. I got in to make money. And then when I was in chiropractic school, I began to realize, wow, this is amazing. This is an incredible tool to help empower people's life. And then long story short, we're from Minnesota. We moved all the way down to Knoxville, Tennessee, didn't know anyone. And I began to knock on doors, and we were just committed to empowering a whole community. We felt God had called us to Knoxville, and we've been there now for over 20 years.
Okay, you have to tell us how you built up that practice, though, because it is so interesting and inspiring. Especially my Faster Way coaches are going to appreciate it. So how did you build that Knoxville, Tennessee practice for your chiropractic?
You know, we didn't know anybody. And I'm very shy and introverted by nature. But we knew that if we were going to make an impact, and I'm a hustler, so I take an idea, doesn't have to be my idea, and if it works, I'm just going to do a lot of it. And so we knocked on doors. And so for 10 hours a day, 6 days a week for 4 months, I was committed to being rejected. And I would knock on a door, I'd canvass neighborhoods. 14 times a police officer and FBI agent stopped me. But I was committed to getting 50 addresses a day.
Wow.
And just introducing myself, new to the area. But it's interesting when I said, and I'd like to seek your advice, the door swung wide open and they were willing to tell me anything. And honestly, it's because of that every week since I have someone that comes to me. I said, "How do you hear about us?" They said, "Well, you knocked on our door." Sometimes they say like 5 years ago. I go, "That was 20 years ago." But you knocked on our door and we invited you into our house, and they've become family ever since.
Wow. So you knocked on doors. You physically walked around 10 hours a day. When you say we, who is we? Is it you and your wife?
Me. So my
Just
wife.
you.
So here's how crazy it is. So I brought my wife away from all of her family and friends with a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, okay, to Knoxville, Tennessee, and we didn't have any money. And so she would stay home, and I would just knock on doors and introduce ourselves. And my feet would bleed. I'd duct tape my feet. I would wear the same one stretch. I wore the same shirt because I thought it looked good 21 days in a row. We literally didn't have any money. And I just began to just introduce myself. Yeah. God was so gracious for us.
My goodness.
I'd have doctors say, "Hey, do you have groceries today?" I said, "Not really." And so they'd give us money for groceries.
Wow.
And just God was so gracious. And as we opened up our office, we had one of the fastest growing clinics ever. Just today, we consider it just a huge privilege to serve the people that we do.
And I love the humility, even when you knocked on the door and a person would open the door and you'd say, "Can you give me advice?" You know, you walked in and you just wanted advice and insight from them. And so that I think is a great way to break down barriers.
Yeah.
And you had still have a thriving practice, which is wonderful. But there's so much more to your business and your career. Share a little bit about the ministry, because much of what you do in your practice, and specifically with this new company that you're launching, is specifically related to kingdom work, which our listeners are truly going to appreciate.
You know, I got into chiropractic probably for the wrong reasons, but I learned that it was one of the greatest ways to empower people's health. A few years into it, I had an encounter with the Lord. I was in Africa, just had an incredible experience with Jesus. And he said, "Son, this is how I'm going to use your life." He says, "I'm going to give you 100 million souls in person, 1 billion through the media." I know that seems far-fetched, and I would be the least qualified to do anything that God's called me to do. But I was willing to say, "Okay, Lord, how do you want to do that?" And we began to do evangelistic crusades around the world on my off time. So I'd take off work, go around the world, and we began to do that. And I remember one day I came back I was in the airport in Minneapolis. I knew exactly where I was, Terminal C. And I said, Lord, I will gladly die for you. I'll go all over the world for you, but you're going to have to fund this thing because people just are very tight when it comes to their resources. And he said, son, I'm going to give you everything you need to fund the gospel. And I began to realize then why I'm still a chiropractor, why people come to me from all over the world, because all I thought about was a harvest. And since that time, we've created a supplement line really to give the proceeds to the gospel so that we can fund the work of the Lord. And God's doing amazing things around the world, actually more now since COVID than ever before. And we created a company called Redeem Essentials simply to write bigger checks for the work that we're doing around the world.
Wow. And you told me recently about a mission trip that you went on in Pakistan. Can you share more about that and how
Yeah.
you are using the money specifically?
So I do virtual crusades right now. So we've done 359 as of today around the world since COVID in multiple countries around the world. We have teams on the ground that work tirelessly, risk their lives. But a group of our ministry actually went and saw it firsthand. While I was here in America, projected on screens around the world, they went to experience it. My son was one of them that got to experience it. But in the midst of that trip, we found out that in just one of our churches that has grown exponentially, we found 600 families still caught in generational slavery in
Ugh.
brick factories. And it's just really beyond, people can't really relate to that here. And so they went to the brick factory. We found 50 families that were actually part of our church body, but still in slavery. And so one of the dads said, what would it take to free these families? And we began to go on this just mission to not only pay off their debt, get it legally verified, but give them a loader, a beautiful loader rickshaw that they can become transporters, give them housing for 6 months, clothes for 6 months, invite them to an incredible celebration, and then allow them to walk in this freedom. And since January, we've, I think, rescued now 175 families from slavery. So I think that's like 1,200 people that have been rescued from slavery since January.
How much money does it take to rescue someone from slavery in this type of situation in the brick factory?
So all in all, we invite them to a celebration where we just treat them like kings and queens. We get them brand new clothes. We pay off their debt, give them a brand new loader rickshaw. We give them housing, clothing, everything that they need for $3,750, sets a family free, sets them up for success, gives them a brand new job. And it's so cool because our team has been back now 3 or 4 times in the Middle East to see what's going on the ground. And we have families that are making right around 4,900, what's called PKUs, which is about $19 a day. It's not a lot, but they're making 50 cents a day. And now they can put their kids in private schooling. They can get a great education. They're paying for all their meals. Their housing is paid for. And it's a replicatable model that now we can really show the love of Christ, which is really our passion, to show that the God that we serve is an incredible God who exposes worth and value and is there to meet us where we're at.
Incredible. $3,700 to free a family, and everything that you do with your practice and now what you're doing with Redeem Essentials is going toward this kingdom work of freeing families and expanding the gospel, which is just incredible. And so many of our listeners are already inspired. I can't wait to dive into the health and wellness component of this. So let's talk a little bit about resilience, because you feel that there are some foundational principles that can help so many of us become more resilient. So what is resilience? Define it for us. And how can we become more resilient so that we have the energy, the stamina, and the strength to fulfill our spiritual goals as well?
The biggest thing, if you want to know, resilience is the essence of real health. See, everyone wants to be healthy. I've never met anyone that doesn't want to be healthy. But what's health? Because there's a lot of misconceptions. Many people think that health is feeling good. And if you feel good, you're healthy. If it's not broke, don't fix it. But we all know someone who's felt great and died of a heart attack, felt great and been diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
There's a mentality that's really been kind of put on steroids, so to speak, since COVID, that germs make you sick. But if that was the case, we'd all be dead. The truth of the matter is germs make a weak host sick, a body that's no longer resilient. So true health is my body's ability to go from a place of homeostasis, balance, rest in the body, adapt physiologically to the demands and stressors of life, and then recover. So as long as my body's able to deal with life, recover from life, my body stays resilient. So the secret's not avoiding bad things, it's being resilient in the face of those bad things. It's like even as a child of God, Jesus didn't save me to give me basically the best parking spot, when I come into to a store to give me all the green lights. Jesus came to be Lord over the fires of my life. I think sometimes we think that he's there to just make everything nice and tidy for me, but he's not. He's there to say, in the midst of life, life's going to happen, but I'm going to be there in the midst of it. Stress happens, life happens, but resilience and true health is my body's ability to deal with that life, recover from it. And as long as I can do that effectively, I'm resilient, which is the essence of true health.
Resilience. It's such a good word. So, what are some of the steps that we can take to becoming more resilient? What do we have to address?
I think the biggest thing, there's actually a simple roadmap to truly becoming resilient. First things first, a body that's able to adapt to life and recover is resilient. But if the body ever gets overwhelmed with the demands and stressors of life, it reaches what the medical community calls allostatic load. It's a medical term that means your body got stuck in a stress response. And if your body gets stuck, that's the point of vulnerability. That's the point where a body fearfully, wonderfully made becomes very chaotic and dumb. Inflammation increases, pain's activated, affects your hormones, digestion, mood, sleep, you name it. A body fearfully, wonderfully made stops working effectively. So first things first, we have to get the body back to homeostasis. How can you do that? Movement. Simple movement. Exercise, getting out and walking around, being active, actually is proven to stimulate the brain to help the body get out of a stress response. Number two, replenish the vulnerabilities of stress. There's 5 main vulnerabilities that are left in the wake of stress. One, it affects the chemical stress pathway, and literally what research says, it's what causes all disease. Number 2, it creates toxicity and cellular waste. Number 3, it weakens your immune system. Number 4, it downregulates your digestion. And number 5, it affects your sleep and your circadian rhythm. 5 main vulnerabilities that if they're left, they lead to all the diseases we face on a regular basis.
Yeah. So replenish the vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's dive in to your new company and these supplements because I'm so thrilled that you gave these to me as a gift. I want to kind of just go one by one on this. So we have an immune defense with vitamin C, zinc, selenium. Just share why vitamin C is so important for our overall health and wellness so that we can be resilient.
Vitamin C is really the muscle of the immune system. And our immune system is our body's military defense system. It's what we use to fight off invasion, viruses, bacteria, and everything else. And so when you look at COVID and everything that studies prove really boosts the body in the face of COVID, vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, echinacea, quercetin, powerful antioxidants to grab free radicals, affect spike proteins, and really put the body in its most resilient state. And it really supports that main vulnerability of a weakened immune system.
Yeah. Okay. Quercetin was one of them. So I see that in here. Oregano leaf powder, turmeric, ashwagandha, which is also wonderful for adrenal health as well.
Ashwagandha is a powerful adaptogen, helps the body get out of a stress response.
Yeah.
And adaptogens are unique. I believe every single person on the planet should be on adaptogens because we're all under stress. Adaptogens are like a thermostat in the body. They will bring you up to homeostasis or they'll bring you down to homeostasis. They create resilience along the chemical stress pathway in the body. Yeah.
And the fact is 100% of us have stress.
Yeah.
Everyone listening can say this is applicable to me. And the key is that we are stress effective and that we become more resilient. So I think this is wonderful. Immune defense, I'm absolutely going to start taking this. Suggested 6 capsules daily. That is great. Okay, let's move on to Stress Max. So this calming adaptogenic blend and stress support has more ashwagandha. So we just spoke about that, more turmeric, basil leaf. Share just a little bit about this. I see garlic, which is awesome.
So Stress Max is really a blend of adaptogenic herbs and just nutrients that are going to help create resilience to the daily demands and stressors of life. So Psychology Today says cortisol is public enemy number 1.
Yeah.
If you want to get fat, old, tired, or sick, well, there's a great way to do it. Let cortisol go crazy. But we all need cortisol each and every day. I need it to wake up in the morning. I need it as a protective mechanism. I also need it for energy. But what I don't want is that pathway to get stuck. I saw a report that the top 100 diseases on the planet have one commonality. The body got stuck chemically in a stress response. What adaptogens do, like Stress Max, it actually reinforces homeostasis so the body can become resilient. the secret's not avoiding these bad things, like we said, is being resilient in the face of them. So I can go face this day and respond and recover from it so I don't lose that resilience.
Okay, so I do have a question. I was recently tested for food sensitivities, and turmeric did pop up as a food that I am sensitive to, in addition to oregano, which I saw, but it's in such a small amount that
Yeah,
probably isn't going to be
no.
much of
And I
a
think when you
problem.
look at food sensitivities, it's looking at why do you have food sensitivities?
Yeah.
Is it your gut health? Is it your stress level? Is it your gut microbiome? Is it the type of turmeric or the oregano that you're actually getting in your system? And then how do you cycle those? And so our biggest thing is let's provide the basics, the foundation, so that it can support everything else in life. And so there's a lot of things that are sensitive to, but
Yeah.
only it's because of the form that it comes in.
Yeah. Okay. So one capsule daily. And should I take this in the morning, in
Yeah.
the afternoon? What's best?
So what we did is we created this essential kit that supports the 5 vulnerabilities of stress
Uh
in
huh.
life. And we just say, let's take 2 in the morning of each of them. And then the sleep max, we take 2 right before bed. So we're getting a good foundation supporting those vulnerabilities. And then we can build upon that foundation over time.
Okay, great. And I have the muscle and tissue. Is this similar to a BCAA or something
Yeah.
like that?
So muscle and tissue are really proteolytic enzymes. And proteolytic enzymes help actually break up cellular waste, scar tissue, and fibrin from the body. So we have a lot of patients that will come in with a frozen shoulder and who just fibrin and just inflammation, scar tissue, will put them on that and will actually break up that cellular waste, allow them to get full range of motion on that shoulder. But it's just something so good. And it also is a powerful digestive enzyme, is really,
Oh.
really good for the body.
So this is also so I'm going to move on to the Digest Max, which I know for sure I need
Yeah.
to start using plant-based complex to promote a healthy response to digestive intestinal systems. But this can also help with that too.
Yeah, just because it's going to clear out cellular waste.
Wow. Because detoxing your cell is so key.
Yeah.
When you get your cell well, then the rest of you can be well. Okay, so Digest Max. I am over a certain age. I've heard that when you're over 35, you should try to do like a digestive enzyme or
Yeah.
support your digestive system. So, talk with us about the benefit, the value of digestive
I think
enzymes.
there's so many people that come in and they're bloated,
Yeah.
digestive issues, their hormones aren't what they're supposed to. Just supporting the digestive system. You know, our gut is what's called our second brain. The
Yeah.
vagus nerves comes in, it innervates it, and to be able to support that gut with good pre and probiotics, with just healing herbs for the digestive system, kind of shoring up leaky gut so that the body's just resilient. I want the detoxifying organs of my body to work effectively. There's so many toxins we face on a regular basis. So the secret's not just avoiding those, it's making sure our body's so resilient that it can do what it was created to do. We are truly fearfully and wonderfully made. And our gut is one of our number one detoxifying organs. So it's imperative that we support it effectively.
Okay, final supplement in this particular protocol. It is the Sleep Max. And if you're listening, you've heard me talk about sleep. I've had so many struggles with sleep over the years. So, herbal mineral complex for the relief of occasional sleeplessness. So, tell me about this. Do I have it every single day?
Well, the interesting thing about Sleep Max is that the herbs that we have in it will actually normalize circadian rhythm,
Mm.
normalize the rhythms of the cell. And what we'd encourage people to do is take 1 or 2 about an hour before bed because it's going to help you get into that second phase of REM sleep where the body restores itself, where it heals itself. So many people, they fall asleep, but they never get into that deep REM sleep and
Right.
they don't get into the second layer of deep REM sleep. So the
Yeah.
body's not actually healing itself, restoring itself, and detoxifying itself. So this will help normalize that circadian rhythm and really support just a happy and healthy life.
Okay, magnesium, which is so important. L-theanine. I've heard of that. I believe it's in the chillax gummies that my kids take.
Yeah.
GABA. I just was speaking with a doctor yesterday about the importance of GABA. That's for the brain, I believe.
Yeah.
And melatonin. Oh, perfect. 2 milligrams of melatonin, which is exactly how much melatonin I take. And then 5-HTP. I'm definitely going to start taking this. And it will make me a little sleepy because of the melatonin. So about an hour before bed.
About an hour before bed. But the
Okay.
cool thing is it's going to allow you to wake up refreshed. It's going to make sure that the body's doing what it's supposed to. And the Digest Max, also, when our digestive system is strong, it actually is one of the greatest ways to produce serotonin, which is one of the neurotransmitters that we're balancing
Oh,
out with good, proper sleep.
which helps for
Mm,
anyone who's dealing with depression and
yeah.
anxiety.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that the foundation of what you do in your practice is help people become more stress effective or help
Mm,
people
yeah.
deal with stress. If someone comes into your office and they have a more complicated health issue or they feel they have a more complicated health issue, just really quick, what are some of the steps that you put them through? And maybe share with us a little bit more about your concierge practice because you
Yeah.
do have a higher end concierge
Yeah.
practice as well.
I do. God's been very gracious. People come every week from different parts of the world, but they're coming with cancer, MS, Parkinson's, heart disease. And most of them have been there, done that. They've been everywhere under the sun, and they're really at their wits' end. They just don't know where to go anymore. They're confused about they have doctors that give them certain diagnoses and they don't agree on them. And then the ones that do, they give them different protocols. And so we
Yeah.
set people through our comprehensive roadmap to resilience, where for them, what we do is we really do some labs, functional labs. We take all that information and personalize a supplement specifically based on their biochemistry, and then provide them also the resources so that we can kind of get them on the road to health, knowing that they have an advocate that's going to fight for them, that's going to pray for them, is going to walk with them every step of the way.
I think it's so important that they have an advocate who they can
Mhm.
trust, who is also praying for them.
Mhm.
That's such an important component of
Yeah.
overall health is the spiritual health too.
Yeah.
Where can we find you on social media?
Right now, just Dr. Pete Sulack, Redeem Chiropractic. Our brand new site, redeemessentials.com, is coming out very, very shortly.
Uh-huh.
And then we have a ministry called Matthew 10, Matthew 1:0, where that's really my offering to the Lord and what we're doing around the world.
So Dr. Pete Sulack, and it's Sulack. For everyone listening, go follow Dr. Pete now. You are doing so many incredible things in the world and for the kingdom, for the health and wellness industry as well. And I am truly inspired. I know our listeners are grateful for the time that you've spent with us today. I'm going to start taking these supplements. I hope many of our listeners go ahead and purchase them as well. But thank you so much. We just truly appreciate it.
I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.